If your meta ads have completely fallen off this year, do not panic. It's not because you've suddenly got worse at marketing, it's because the algorithm has changed and the structures and frameworks that you're running across meta ads need to change as well. At Public Nectar, we've helped e-commerce brands generate over £400 million over the years. You can trust me when I say that the brands that are still growing now are not running the same frameworks that they were a year ago. Rather than you having to go out and research loads of different YouTube videos to find out what it is that you should be doing, I've consolidated everything into this video for you so that by the end, you're going to know the exact frameworks and creative volumes that you need to be running across Meta to kickstart your progress in 2026. And at the end, as a bonus, I will give you a completely free calculator that is going to run through exactly how many creatives you should be running a month, exactly how much spend you should be allocating to testing so that you don't have to keep second guessing yourself anymore. So if your ROAS has been slowly dwindling on Facebook ads, this is going to change everything. As we move into 2026 and we've had the recent Meta Andromeda update, the thing that people don't seem to realize is that Meta isn't just about trying to get people to approve your creative anymore. You now also have to get Meta's Andromeda to approve your creative as well. Before anyone has even laid eyes upon your ad, Meta will already have analyzed and categorized how that ad is likely to perform. You're not just trying to get people's attention anymore, you're trying to get Meta's algorithm's attention as well. So what is the one thing that Meta is rewarding people for right now? And that is creative diversity. You've probably heard the name Andromeda thrown around the internet loads since July, and everyone seems to associate this with creative volume. Just churn out as many creatives as you possibly can, doesn't matter what it is. But it doesn't just want lots of ads, it wants lots of different ads. You need to be testing completely different visuals and messaging. This is now what helps the algorithm find the exact pockets of audiences that you should be hitting. And as we've seen firsthand, the brands that are adapting to this are seeing lower CPMs, better incremental reach, and as a result, much better performance. You can no longer be one of those brands that's just recycling 2 or 3 hooks over and over again and wondering why your ads aren't performing. You can be launching as many creatives as you like, but if the visuals are not different enough and Meta can see that the messaging is the same, it will categorize them in the same way, and the ad is just going to start hitting exactly the same people. You're not going to get incremental reach, and as a result, your CPMs are going to be so much more expensive. Excluding those real scalable winning ads, the average ad fatigues in around 7 to 14 days, often even quicker nowadays. If you're not feeding that algorithm fresh, varied content, your performance is going to drop. That's why the framework that I'm about to show you isn't just about how to structure your campaigns, it's about how to keep your creative volume and your targets and your ad spend all in sync, working together. Meta's algorithm is faster, smarter, and hungrier than ever, and this framework is designed to feed exactly that. And here's where most people get it wrong. They're so stuck on how many ads should I be creating a month, and they're not actually attaching it to how much ad spend they have and what they can afford to do. It is completely backwards. Your creative volume should be entirely based on how much you're spending, how much your target CPAs are, and what stage you are in creative testing. If that sounds confusing, let me run it through with you right now so you can understand. So the first thing that you need to work out is, what stage is your account in? Are you in the testing phase, or are you in the scaling phase? And now these are very important to clarify. If your account is in a position where you don't have very many winning ads and you're relying on maybe 1 to 2 ads, then you are very much still in the testing phase. You need to be finding those ads which are going to be able to scale you up. However, if you're an account that has already done quite a bit of testing and you've got a few ads which you are scaling fast, then you're definitely more in the scale phase, and we need to reconsider how we go about testing. So if your account is in that testing phase where you don't have those scalable winners yet, minimum you need at least 50%, but more ideally 70% of your ad spend going towards creative testing. If you do have scalable winners and you're finding that you're able to scale up the account nice and quickly with the ads that you have, you're in a scaling phase, and I would say we want to allocate around 25% to 40%, depending on how many creatives it is that we currently have that are working. Nowadays, where a lot of brands are still adjusting to the new creative output that they need to be producing, I would say that most fall into the testing phase, and a lot of brands are finding their ads are fatiguing very quickly. So for this example that I'm going to be doing here and breaking down, let's take a account that is in a testing phase. Let's say we're spending around 30k a month in ad spend, and you're in testing mode. So what does this mean? If 70% of our budget is going towards testing, that means that 21,000 is going towards our testing campaign. This is something that people don't seem to understand. A lot of people like to launch, say, one ad per ad set and make sure that every creative is getting the exposure that it needs. But with the way that Meta's algorithm is identifying winners early, this is just not the way to run it anymore. We need to be running creatives in batches. Now, the ads don't need to be the same. It's not like we're taking one ad with a batch of 5 and it's got 5 different hooks. That's not what we're doing here. It's 5 completely unique ads. And to clarify, a batch doesn't have to be just 5 ads. A batch could be 5 or it could be 50 ads. It's completely dependent on how much you're spending and what your target CPAs are. So that is 5 to 50 per batch. The most important thing is the batch budget and how much you're allocating per batch. A good rule of thumb that we're seeing work across accounts at the moment is ideally 90 times your target CPA per month, or at a minimum 30 times your target CPA per month. So the most important thing is that each batch gets enough data, and this is completely based on your target CPA. Now, the going rule that we like to use is that the target is 90 times your target CPA per month. And so I would say the minimum that we're working with here is 30. And the ideology behind this is that if you're on, say, 30 times your target CPA per month, that is 1 times your target CPA per day, which means that we're allowing that ad set to get potentially 1 conversion per day. Meta's algorithm, in order to get out of Learning Limited, recommends more than that. So that's why our target is 90 times your target CPA. But as I say, as a minimum, we want 30 minimum. So let's take this example brand that has the £30,000 budget. That's 21,000 towards their testing. So if we put 21k here, and let's say their target CPA, right, is £50. If our rule of thumb is for your batch to have at least 90 times your target CPA, that means that each batch should have 4.5k in monthly spend. Now, with our 21k budget, that means that we can run 4 to 5 batches per month. It's about 1 every week, 1 to 2 if we can seem to push some more volume. So we have 4 to 5 batches. How many ads it is that you can put into each batch is very dependent on how many ads you're able to produce based on the in-house team that you've got, whether you're using an agency, maybe you've got a whole network of affiliates. All of these things dictate how expensive it is for you to get creatives and how many you can produce in the course of a month. So this can vary a lot from brand to brand. In just a minute, I'll show you the calculator that I was referring to in the beginning that will make this whole process so much easier. So in this example, let's say we're running 5 creatives per batch. That's 5 times 5, which equals 25 creatives per month. The next thing you're going to need to break down is whether you can do more video content or static content, because as we've seen across loads of different accounts, video often has a lot more weight because you're able to give much more information in one go. However, obviously they're much more expensive to produce. So these are things that we have to consider. And the second thing that we have to take into consideration is whether these are new concepts or iterations. Now, there's a couple different types of iterations that you can do. You can do big or small iterations. Considering that this account is in a testing phase, I think we need to lean more into more new concepts, as this is what's going to feed Meta's algorithm better. So in this example, I would say we would have 15 of our 25 ads be new concepts. I would then say 6 of these would then be big iterations. So what do I mean by big iterations? This is when we've found something that we know kind of works, but we want to completely pivot either the visual that we're using to completely refresh how the ad is reaching our target avatar, or we want to use the same visual, but we want to switch up the avatar that we're reaching. And we do that by changing the messaging. So these are the 2 sorts of big iterations that we do. Either way, it allows Meta to see it as a completely new ad. And then finally, we have small iterations, which is just what we're used to doing on Meta, where it's changing a bit of text, changing some colors, fonts, that kind of thing, just the basic things. So for this, I would say we have 3 small iterations. And this is where most brands are falling flat. They're spending 30k a month on ads, but they're only producing 8 to 10 ads, which means they are just massively underfeeding the algorithm. And when this happens, your CPMs will inevitably rise, your incremental reach will drop, the ads will start just hitting the same person over and over again. And as a result, your ROAS falls off a cliff. To put it simply, you cannot scale past your creative output. Your campaign structure, your budget, even your media buying experience does not matter matter if you don't have the diverse creative output that your account needs. Now, obviously, that might be quite a lot to take in, and your numbers are evidently going to be different to the example that I provided. So that is why I built this entirely free calculator for you guys to use that will spit out the exact framework you should be running, the number of creatives, how many of them should be video, new concepts, iterations, the whole lot. So you don't have to keep second guessing anymore. It tells you exactly what you need to be doing. It even goes as far to telling you like the bidding strategies, the audiences that you should be using. It's really, really simple. Let's test another example for the sake of the calculator. Let's say we're spending a little bit more, say £75,000 a month. And then in terms of our average order value, let's say we're at, I don't know, £80. And for the target CPA, let's say our target ROAS is 2 and our target CPA is then 40, or even you can put in target ROAS as well, whichever is easier. But for this sake, I'm just going to put in a £40 CPA. Account stage, let's still put testing, because as I say, I still think most accounts are in this testing phase at the moment. And then you can put how big your creative team is. So most brands are in that small creative team / freelancer phase. However, a brand spending more the £75,000, £100,000 mark, I'd like to think they've got a creative agency or in-house team of some kind. So I'm going to choose that option here. And the last step is literally just hit get your personalized framework. And bam, right now it is spat out our recommended campaign structure based on our monthly ad spend, our target CPA. As you can see, we've got our testing campaign, which is ABO. We've got a 65% budget allocation, 55 ads per month with a launch schedule of 11 batches or 2 to 3 per week. And the total monthly spend going behind our testing is just under £49,000 a month. When it comes to the creative breakdown, you can see it's even told us, okay, 80% of that volume should be video, 20% of that should be static. Now, it's cleverly worked this out based on your target CPAs, your ad spend, how much it thinks you should be spending on production, and how big your creative team is, because as you get a better team and you start getting like affiliate networks and things, the cost per video ends up being cheaper, so you can afford better volume. So it's very, very clever how it works all this stuff out. Below that, we have content type. So obviously 34 new concepts, 14 big iterations, and 8 small iterations there. This will fund this account perfectly in terms of its new creative testing. I won't go into too much detail, but it does spit out the campaign structure as well underneath, so you can see the targeting, budget, and how to manage the campaign. And it does that across all of the different campaigns, so make sure you give those a read before implementing this on your account. So below the testing campaign, we have the scaling campaign, which is 20% of our budget, and based on the volume that we're testing, we're estimating to receive about 6 ads per month into this campaign, because the industry average is between 5 and 10%. We're using a more generous example of 10%, but in terms of how many ads actually become scalable winners, it is around the 5 to 10% mark. So for scaling, £15,000 a month. And finally, we have our retargeting campaign. Now, in the Andromeda world, I do see a lot of people talking about how to structure meta ads, and they say you don't need to have a retargeting campaign anymore. But I highly disagree with this, because whilst Meta does naturally like to lean into retargeting users, we want to actually make sure that we are doing it. Because if we don't have a retargeting campaign, we're not guaranteeing that Meta will go after the people that recently abandoned cart and things like that. So it's good to allocate some spend to it still. In this instance, it's 15%, and we've got 11.25k per month in spend. Now, unless you're an account spending a lot more, I don't think it's necessary to test bottom of funnel ads. I don't think the results that you're going to get are completely accurate. I think the most important thing, if 15% of your spend is going towards retargeting, is just making sure that we're running those evergreen winners and offers to get people over the line to purchase. That is the most important thing. Just keep an eye on the ad frequency. Make sure that it's not going too high over, say, a week time period, because if your ad is serving to the same person over and over and over again, it is going to be so expensive for you to retarget people. And then to make it nice and simple, it spits out a summary at the bottom here. You can see your total monthly creatives of 58. We can see our batches per month of 11, creators per batch 5 to 6, your expected winners, and then also the budget per batch, which is £4,431 a month. And as you can see underneath, it says this is 110 times our target CPA, which is nicely above the 90x target that we have. If you need further information, it also tells you how to use the structure below and how to optimize these campaigns effectively. And there is a whole host of FAQs here as well that you can dive through, which we will constantly keep up to date based on the questions that you guys are asking. So as I said, the link for this will be in the description below. So go dabble with it yourself and see what numbers it produces for your brand. So that's it, the set framework that will work for your brand specifically. There's no need to split a dozen interests or stack a bunch of audiences. This is a system that constantly tests, finds, and scales your winning ads. And the best part is that it scales with you, whether you're spending 20K a month, 100K a month, 500K a month, this framework that it spits out will be tailored exactly for what you need. So that's the setup. This is how we're structuring our campaigns ready for 2026. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just need to make sure that your creative volume is taking into consideration your targets and your ad spend. Organize all your campaigns around that. Now, as you're watching this video, Public Nectar are giving away completely free growth audits for your brand. So that's for any service, whether it be Google, Meta, TikTok, email, creative, the whole lot. Our team of experts will dive in and see exactly what the bottlenecks are that are holding you back from growing. The call with us is completely no obligation. So if you want to just take the insights that we give you and run with it, that is completely up to you. But I cannot emphasize enough how much value you will get from these audits. At the end of the day, we just want to be brutally honest into what we think it is you need to be doing to scale your account to the next level. The link for that is also waiting for you down below. And that is it. I will see you in the next one.